for the part of the Shimane students coming to visit us, for that part, the part that we did after I did the first vlog was the main part was we took our signs that we made that were like every sign has two sides, so it presented both sides as an issue, and we protested at different points around campus, like the Rock and the Wells Hall Bridge and the cafeteria in the International Center to just like get that idea across to a bunch of different people. And then we made our video about that demonstration and our intercultural collaboration through that project. And that video by itself required a lot of intercultural collaboration. And then two other things that I did was I went to the basketball game and I went to the Japanese immersion school in Livonia. So the challenge that I found we had, that I thought we were going to have in the first video, was the language barrier. And I thought there would be the Japanese students and would have a hard time understanding us when we have a hard time understanding the ideas of the Japanese students because of the language barrier. And for the most part, I was right. We just tried our best to translate what we could with the Japanese students by using like hand gestures, and like we tried to just get the best idea of what they were trying to say, and I think we did that for the most part. One thing extra that we did was we used subtitles in our video because I thought that the Japanese students, if we didn't use subtitles, wouldn't get a chance to fully express what they wanted to say, whereas the American students would get a chance to fully express what they wanted to say. So I thought that the best way to fix that problem would be to use subtitles so the Japanese students could speak Japanese, and like the subtitles would say what best we could understand, what best I could understand that they were saying. But I mean, they were at least getting to say all of what they wanted to say in their language. An unforeseen challenge we had was the American-Japanese interaction, because I thought that a lot of times the Japanese Shimane students pretty much did whatever we told them to do, and I don't blame them for that because that was pretty much all they could do. And then a lot of times I felt that the American students, so like me and the other MSU students, knew what they were doing, so they just pretty much went ahead and did it without a lot of Shimane student insight, which I thought was too bad because the Japanese students probably had good ideas that they were unable to express. And again, I feel kind of sorry about that, because that was pretty much all the Japanese students could do was just go with what we did because they couldn't speak English. One of the potential positive things that could come from the interactions that I mentioned in the first video was we would get new viewpoints from a different culture, like about immigration, and like the Japanese students would have different views on immigration because they were from a different culture. But I actually found that to be incorrect. I thought that the Japanese students had pretty much the same viewpoints we did, because I think they understand that there's a difference between Japan and America, and I believe that they know that America is just a totally different ballgame when it comes to immigration compared to Japan, because our cultures are just totally different. One thing that I thought was good was how we worked together, even though, like I already mentioned, that a lot of times the American students and the Japanese students didn't work together a lot. But I thought that when we did have an opportunity to work together and make it work well, I thought we found some good ways to do that. Some cultural insights that I found that was interesting was, I know that there's a lot of times our cultures were different, but I found that there were still some similarities. Like, I'm not trying to sound like I'm in minimization, like the minimization stage of intercultural development here, but I found that there were a lot of, I mean, there weren't a ton of similarities between our cultures, but like before the basketball game, me and Takuma and some of the other Shimane students were talking about just baseball because like I like baseball and like I know they have baseball in Japan, so we talked about like Ichiro and like some of the Japanese teams. I know some of the Japanese teams, and they know some of the American teams, so we were able to like talk about in a weird Japanese American kind of fusion there about baseball. So that was like really cool. I didn't know that they would know that much about American sports. And I mean, they don't have basketball in Japan, so I had to like give them a crash course on basketball before I actually went into the game. So I mean, that was fun too. Suggestions I would have for future students in this project, I would really try to include the Shimane students. Like at times, I know it's going to be easier to just buckle down and do it, like do the project. But sometimes it's easy, like you just have to take the hard way out and just try to include the Japanese students. Another thing I would try to remember is like, I mean, I know they're from a different culture, but they're also 19. So I mean, you can just kind of act natural, and they'll act natural too. I mean, they're 19 too, like they're gonna get it. And then like I would just try to find like small things to just like make small talk, like just to relate to them. Like I found the baseball thing, so I talked about baseball because I like baseball. So if you have something you like, you should just try to like talk to them about it. So yeah.